On Wednesday, we witnessed two contrasting sides to this circuit. One race saw the ugly head of attrition gobble up multiple cars, while the other showed that passing can often be a tricky affair. Will there be more than two sides to this coin, or will today bring similar lessons? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch the PCA Sim Racing Series 8 live here on Podium Esports. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is DJ Clark and Rachel Whiteford. Cameron Aubernon is on social media, along with Ryan Bauer producing, who is using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. We've described the various facets of this place, but why don't we go one step further and show you with our track guide just what this venue is about. Welcome to Suzuka Circuit, perhaps most famous for its hosting of the Formula One Japanese Grand Prix for much of the event's history. This track sees all sorts of racing besides that. In fact, this place began as a test track for Honda, but later proved to be a driver and fan favorite for competitive motorsports as well. The full layout of the Grand Prix course steals the show, but there's actually 5 different versions that can be run on iRacing. With their lap lengths ranging from just over 2 kilometers to nearly 6 kilometers, plenty of different types of cars can suit the track. GT racing and lower-level open-wheelers are quite popular, but motorcycles are also a staple here. Some of the corners have become world-renowned over the years. The S's are often cited as one of the great tests of a driver's technical prowess. Then, of course, there's Degners 1 and 2, which provide very little runoff considering their fast and narrow entry. Later on, the long backstretch leads up to the notorious 130R, which is blindingly fast. The Casio Triangle offers one last chance at an overtake if you're brave, but has been the scene of many drivers clattering into one another over the years. F1 fans will be quick to cite the infamous coming together here between Senna and Prost. However, real-life visitors will find it's more than the racing that provides some viewing pleasures. The unique ways in which the Japanese fans celebrate their favorite cars and drivers certainly capture your attention. But it's no wonder they're such fanatics, because who wouldn't be with one of the world's greatest tracks right in your backyard? Well, DJ, on Wednesday, we described this place as a driver's track, and I tell you what, we certainly had plenty of examples why it gets that determination.
Yeah, indeed, Joe. It really is a circuit that just has one corner flowing into the other one. And if you break that rhythm at really any point during the lap, you're going to find your flow really sent off here. A couple of big danger zones to watch out for. Turns 8 and 9, the Degners. We saw a lot of drivers having some problems through there, as well as coming up through turn 13, that spoon curve. It's very easy to pick up some understeer there and let the car run off a little bit wide, maybe touch a little bit of the grass on the exit of the curbing. Now, the overtaking areas that we've been able to see, well, going into the Casio Triangle, you can see some, but that's pretty much a one-way street going down into 15 and 16. And so you're going to not really be able to get a move done there perfectly. The best overtaking opportunity, that's really going down into 1 and 2, that decreasing radius right-hander. You can really send the car around there, the outside, or you can even try a little bit of a gutsy move down the inside and try to force the car out wide.
There we see one of our drivers even taking it right now as the qualifying is underway. They don't have a lot of time to get these 3 laps in, so they've really got to hustle, especially it looks like we've got a pretty stacked field here today, Rachel, a high number of attendants, and it seems like that track position, at least based on the sport race that we witnessed on Wednesday, could actually wind up being pretty important.
Yeah, it certainly can. And now the sport race and the challenge race we had last week were distinctly different races. Which will this be, the club class? We'll have to find out. Now, we did see that the track was very cool, of course, and that had a huge impact on our race. It definitely changed how this very slippery track can actually affect the drivers. And today, it is again very cold. So it could be an interesting one to find out.
And one of the drivers mentioned, too, that it started to heat up as the race progressed as well. So we'll have to watch and see if it does have a drastic shift, as David Glenn right now has his buddy once again helping him try and see whether or not he can hit warp speed here and coming down into Spoon Curve. He's going to try and take the double apex left-hander as quickly as he can and get the best exit he can onto the longest straight on the track, up the backstretch and into 130R, where we saw one of the more popular places to pass into that Casio Triangle, DJ. I'm curious to see if it'll be a bit similar here today.
Yeah, I think it will be. Obviously, you get the benefit of the draft coming down through 130R. And as I said, just one of the problems is it really narrows up there at the corner. So you've got to be very, very committed to making that move. You can't really dilly-dally around in there and leave opportunity. You've got to go for it. As there we see Garrett Taylor jumping up to the top of the charts.
Well then, as we've got Taylor going from the fastest in the warm-up now to fastest in qualifying. Will it stay that way? About half the field with the time down. Elbaga only within half a second. He's not that close considering, but it is a rather long lap, as I mentioned. So it can find quite a bit of difference over a number of corners, and especially in this first part here through the S's and then up through the Dunlop curve into the Degners. Just about have everybody with at least one time down, so that's a good sign that we won't have anybody too out of place most likely here today, Rachel. But we do still have time for this to shuffle around. As I mentioned, they have 2 more laps to try and set one.
Yeah, they do, and that's plenty of time still to actually really get a good banger in here. And Garrett Taylor, we've seen, is incredibly fast. Elbaga is fast. Glenn, he's very fast as well. These guys are all very impressive, and I really want to see what they can do. But it's going to be guys like Dialosa, Faulkner, Leung, and Reese who will be our outliers. Same with Terrence Tong as well. These guys could all play a factor in this, and we have to see what happens, because as we've seen in the last 2 rounds, things can go wrong.
And yeah, they definitely went wrong for a number of people in that first challenge race, as so many had trouble just trying to navigate the track and get to the finish. It wound up being who made the fewest mistakes. Even our winner wound up having a spin at one point. Come on in 22nd after that latest lap. In fact, that was his first time lap, so he's only going to be able to get 2 of them in. And we switch over to Elsom, one of the few that has not put a time down, as his first lap got deleted. He's coming out of Spoon Curve and up the backstretch himself, as we have not seen the top 2 change. Taylor and Elbaga still occupying that front row. In fact, Taylor just crossed and did not improve, and neither did the 043. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by that, Joe. We saw a slight uptick in temperature out on track up to about 82 degrees Fahrenheit, and I would have suspected that his tires getting a little bit more heat into them, drivers would be able to run a little bit faster. Terrence Tong looks like he's been able to bump his way up 1 position up into 11th place right now. Let's see what a couple of these drivers are able to put down here as coming to the line. That's going to be Holmes all the way up into 7th.
And Elsom didn't manage to set a time, so he will get one more shot at it. Well, no, he won't, because he just went off the track and has spun. He's done with qualifying. He will have to start from the back of this field. Nick Facciolo, who looks like he is on a bit of a quick time. He's about a 10th up on his fastest in that 7:17, but he's got to make up 8 tenths. It seems like the gaps are pretty wide here in qualifying, which... Yeah, I did say, Rachel, that it's a long lap, but I'm a bit shocked at how wide some of the gaps are.
Yeah, I think this is one of the tracks that really leads to that, because it being over a 2-minute lap, you will find bigger gaps, of course. Now, I think the longer tracks, we tend to see that gap in our field spread out so much more, because right now, Garrett Taylor's lap time for pole is a 2-minute 1.892. Where is our 1 second bracket? Oh, look, it's right there in 8th. It is super close. So we see this at places like Spa, Nürburgring, and here, the long laps. The gaps get bigger. Why? There are more places to lose time.
Just as some of them are discovering. So Taylor's done with his qualifying. Elbaga is still coming around, but we're going to follow Facciolo in that 7:17. As he comes out of the Casio Triangle, he does have the time to finish this last flyer, but will it be quicker? It looks like he's lost a bit, and indeed, he does not improve. Elbaga is the next one, and he looks like he is slow as well. Yes, that lap got deleted for him. Waiting to see if anybody else can go quicker. Markadakis just moved up to 25th. This is Leung in the 290 machine, but he does not find improvement as he finishes up. So now to Brett Holmes in the 8th spot. The last one within a second, as we heard Rachel mention, but it doesn't look like he's on a fast one either, DJ.
No, I don't think he's going to be able to improve there on that 206.7. Let's wait and see what he does. Indeed, 206.749 for him, so he's not going to be able to improve. Kevin Douglas, one that could have a little bit, although I'm not seeing any green sectors there out of that machine.
Yeah, a lot of them look like they have not been able to improve on this lap. And with the clock ticking down to nothing, I believe our qualifying is effectively done. Yes, indeed. That is everybody who is able to set a time. Our front row has Garrett Taylor and Tamer Albaga side to side, first and second. Matt Dialosa will start from third as David Glenn is fourth, and Nick Facciolo will stay in fifth. Jake Faulkner will start P6, and it's Ben Leung in seventh, followed by Brett Holmes in eighth and Gary Reese ninth, with Terrence Tong, DJ, rounding out your top 10.
In 11th, it's going to be Daniel Florian, followed by Jake Steinbrink with Fabio Andrade and Logan Grotto behind him. Michael Patterson will be in 15th, followed by Kevin Douglas. Alonre Sarumi and Aaron Ambrosino round out your top 18, with Aaron Nations and Richard Franco rounding out the top 20.
21st is Volker Krebs, the Haribo Machine. 22nd, Vidal Erbesh, with Donald Binkley in 23rd. Kevin Heyman in 24th. 25th is Dave Stewart. Ken Eskridge, 26th place. George Makadakis in 27th. Chris Duffy, 28th, with Patrick Gill in 29th and Trey Davis in 30th. 31st is Neil Erbesh. Bruce Robinson, 32nd. 33rd is Mike Knighton. And 34th and last, without a time, Andrew Elson.
Alrighty, as we wait for the rest of them to grid up, we just about have everybody out there. We're waiting on Albaga and Ambrosino. Looks like those are the final two. They get 2 minutes, but everybody is in a rush to get this one started, it appears, as most of the field is already out there with already nearly a minute gone. And it looks like the temperatures have risen slightly at this point, as it's up to 86 degrees. But now everybody is out there, so the engines start to rev as the lights come up here for the fifth race of Series 8, and the green flag is out. It's a pretty good start for a pole sitter. Albaga, oh, it's decent. Looks like Dialosa wants to try and attack, but he's not quite close enough. Meanwhile, over Facciolo, it's going to be Faulkner down to his inside as they all cycle into turns 1 and 2. A little bit of side-by-side, DJ, but it all looks relatively calm to me.
Yeah, relatively calm. I saw a little bit of door banging there in the back, but nothing to shoot anybody off the track. So everything nice and good here. Albaga trying to close in on Taylor, but it looked like Albaga had a little bit of a wide run coming through the second part of the snake, and that cost him about 1/10 of a second.
Yeah, so through the snake, still a few more that are trying to get single file. Otherwise, you can see the front of the pack has all spread out. In fact, Taylor's got 0.8 of a second over Albaga already. Going through the Degners, will anybody fall victim as they fly through for the first time in anger under race conditions, and saw somebody spin off? It looks like Vidal Erbesh, Rachel, who has been sent to the inside on the grass.
Yeah, not good for him, unfortunately. It's an individual incident there, so will not affect our overall race purview at the moment. So we'll keep this one flowing for us. Garrett Taylor, Albaga, Dialosa, Glenn right now running through here. Everything's looking pretty clean compared to the last 2 rounds, so these guys have got this one dialed. I think they paid attention to Wednesday.
Let's hope that it remains that way for the rest of the race. Side by side, though, for third, Faulkner and Dialosa going to try and figure out who will be on the podium after the end of the first lap. And it's looking like it might be Faulkner, as that great run to the inside has got him track position. Behind them, that's Facciolo giving watch. They go single file before they hit 130, are too early for those shenanigans, and look for the braking down into the Casio triangle. So solidly into third with the number 3 car. Facciolo was not able to take advantage, DJ.
No, not able to do it there quite yet, but he knows that there is an opportunity for himself coming off of Spoon if he can try to force those same mistakes again. We ride on board with Brett Holmes, who's sitting in a bit of the popcorn position. A little bit strange to see him dive all the way down to the inside, trying to defend a little bit from Ben Leong, but that was a very, very early defensive move.
Oh, well, Ben had caught up, and he has some overlap here, but through turn one, just does not have the grips. A couple cars behind them going wide. Steinbrink, and it looks like Andrade both going off into the paved runoff, but managing to get back on without incident. But look at this battle carrying on. This is Tong on the side of, it looks like, I think that's Steinbrink, actually, with him in that number 46. And is he going to have to give way? Tong in the green machine is eventually going to be able to slide in front of him. Rachel, that'll give him 14th position.
Yeah, it will give him 14th, which is exactly what he needed there. Moving himself a little bit further forwards here is important right now. He needs to get that track position early whilst the cars are still close together. You'll get lots of separation of this track, but everyone's being really timid, I think, in a lot of these corners. They're being super cautious. Temperature coming up there will be a big advantage.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe just trying to hold on to their stuff, not try and fight too hard, wear out the rubber in these stages. Back to Brett Holmes once again in the number 6 as he is chasing on David Glenn in front of him in the blue, number 172, into Spoon Curve. Last time out, we saw a good exit through here, offer up a chance to pass one of the cars ahead of him, but doesn't look like Brett is nearly good enough to go on the offensive for Glenn.
No, and that's really one of those corners there that you have to take the give and take, Joe. You want to get onto the throttle as early as possible to keep that gap down, to get that good run. But because of the way the track is off camber there, it's very easy to pick up a little bit of understeer, run wide, get off into that AstroTurf, and so you really have to shoot the difference there between the two.
Absolutely, and as we watched on board with him, he's able to get through the Casio Triangle successfully. Now, what's interesting, Rachel, is I'm looking back at our leaders here, and it's about 4/10 separation. Now, it was 8/10 partway through the first lap. Tabor is really starting to push now.
Yeah, Albaga is really going hard with this one. The Racing Dojo region driver is trying to keep Taylor honest. He knows how quickly he can get away, so he has to put the issue in now, try and force a mistake early so he can control this race.
And Taylor's won the 3 races that he's attended so far this season, or this series rather, as the only one that he wasn't at was at Winton. Other than that, he has taken victory each time he has shown up. Ilbaga be able to deny him on that, and right now they've got about 1.2 seconds over Faulkner, so really not too great of a threat from behind as we come back to Steinbrink in the mid-pack. This is a chase on Terrence Tong, who we saw overtake him a little bit before after Steinbrink had an off through the first couple corners. Nothing doing between them through the Degners and down into the hairpin, DJ.
Indeed, a little bit of a look there for Steinbrink down into the hairpin. That is a very gutsy maneuver to try to make. I wouldn't anticipate maneuvers like that being made until the final maybe 5-10 minutes left to go in this race. And it looks like Tong was able to back up the apex of the corner there a little bit more, buy himself some breathing room over Jake Steinbrink.
In fact, Steinbrink's starting to notice that Douglas is a little closer to him than he is to Tong, and didn't use all of the track coming through the middle of Spoon. Didn't seem to lose him a whole great bit of time, but we now hop on board with Douglas, Rachel, to see if he can utilize the slipstream.
Yeah, we do indeed, and this is going to be too far back, I think, to have any impact. You want to be at least half that distance coming off the Spoon Curve to really have the opportunity up here. This distance is going to keep him with him, and they're going to go faster, of course, and catch up with the guys ahead, but for a passing opportunity, you need to be almost on their rear diffuser, coming out of Spoon to make that stick.
And once again, Steinbrink picking the pieces up and moving forward as he's caught up to Tong. Is he going to try and take a move down into turn 1? He's going to think about it. He's going to come from a long ways back if he does, and no, just showing himself in the mirrors for the time being. But that gap is just half a car length between them already.
Yeah, it is definitely starting to come down here a little bit more, looking like Steinbrink is on the attack. He's not really going to have a move to present himself until the hairpin. That's one of the tricky parts about the Suzuka circuit, is really the first sector and a half of this lap. There is no opportunity to get a pass done.
Well, last time by, looks like Albaga has dropped off, lost 4 more tenths to Taylor, so the lead has now separated as we stay here with this great battle for 14th, but Tong not leaving the door open anywhere. Steinbrink is going to have to probably get aggressive or hope for a mistake at some point.
think he is. Steinbrink wants to find that, and I always want to say his name's Steinbeck. I'm always thinking about the rabbits, I guess. But yeah, he's trying to find a place in this one, and Terrence Tong just ahead of him is going to be one of those cars he really wants to fight with, because he's seen Terrence Tong drop back. He's back 4 places. That means this guy could be a victim in the very next couple of laps. Now, this is the sort of spacing I'm talking about. Look at this. Look how close he is now coming into Spoon. He loses some time in the mid part of the corner, but he's going to stick with him coming on the exit. Is it a little bit of a better run? I think it is. This is how close you want to be. Because look at this right now. He's coming up the gearbox still, coming up the gear set there, and he's going to come under the Panasonic bridge, right up behind him here. He's on the limiter, up to 6th place. Will he have the overspeed to go in? Again, yeah, even then. I think he actually held off a little bit. His gear changes were a little bit late.
Yeah, he dropped back. That certainly seemed like he was just kind of holding out. Well, not anymore. He's going to send it in down to the Casio triangle. They almost bang doors through there. Both of them spin the wheels up, and this means Kevin Douglas might be able to get involved. They all three are line astern as they fly down the front stretch.
And Kevin Douglas looking very, very hungry on all of this as they come in. There's going to be another little bit of a move there for Steinbrink. He's going to try to send it down the inside, but Terrence Tong saw that was coming. That's Andrade off in the front.
Oh no, he's losing multiple positions. He's waiting patiently, doing the right thing, waiting for an opening. Oh, but now, okay, I was going to say, unless the car goes wide there, he's in big trouble. Thankfully, everybody was able to stay tucked to the bottom of the track. Let's see what caused this, Rachel.
Yeah, we'll take a look back here on the replay. It was just a solo spin. It appears to be, yeah, no one was near him. Just dumped the back end, which can happen there if you enter a little bit too wide.
Yeah, it seems like the rear just came around and there was no saving it at those speeds. So Andrade returns in 28th after being in the top 10 before this. But in front of him, behind him, that is Andrew Elsom. Now, Elsom is up 5 positions. He failed to set a time in qualifying, and I wondered what he could do in the race itself. And right now, it's nothing really to write home about, but he is up from where he started. So that's the good news, DJ.
Yeah, indeed. And sometimes if you fail to set a qualifying time, that's all you need. A little bit of a wide run there through the hairpin, a little bit off the apex. That's going to cost him a little bit of time as he tries to close in on Andrade there ahead of him. But he also knows that Andrade has made a mistake and may be prone to making some more.
Ooh, Steinbrink, who we come back to here, went a little bit wide off the corner. Douglas kind of showing his nose a little bit, but he comes back to the racing line, and I think that just wasn't good enough of an exit from the 810 as well. And using, a bit of the track and more. Steinbrink goes all the way off into the runoff. He wants to try another pass, but this one doesn't even get side by side this time, Rachel.
No, not quite, but it's still going to be the pressure putting on us. We're getting an early pit here. This could be an opportunity for someone to shake things up, but we'll have to see how that one does go through. Yeah, we are entering that pit window. This is time to pay attention to what people will do. If I'm in this queue of cars here, as I am excited, so I'm talking too fast. If I'm in that long queue of cars, that is when I want to start pitting early, because it will get me into clean air.
This is very, very early. I believe this is going to be right on the verge of being able to make the pit window. So that was Steinbrink in the 46 that head in, and he is already back out. Meanwhile, we're watching the battles in and amongst the top 10 here. Coming down into the braking zone, Holmes chasing Glenn. We were watching them a little bit earlier, but nothing has really altered since we last checked on it. It's about 0.6 of a second, which is where it's sat.
Yeah, indeed it is. Everything looking like it's stabilizing here just a little bit as we ride on board with Logan Grotto, this being one of the closest battles on the track. A little bit of a look there down to the inside of the hairpin. That wasn't a full commit move. That was just a little bit of a poke to see if he could force maybe Florian off the line a little bit.
So far, and touch wood, this is looking a lot more like the sport race than it was the challenge race on Wednesday night. As, nice close-up under braking there from Grotto as he continues to put the pressure on Florian. But it does look like the passing is difficult, like we kind of witnessed with that second race 2 nights ago, Rachel.
Yeah, I'd agree so. And it's the speed of these guys. They've definitely got the speed here. A lot of the passing was mistakes in the challenge race, so we're seeing a lot less of that this time because they're just faster.
A lot more consistent, too, it appears. And there's a big send once again. It is the Casio Triangle, the place to be, and tried to turn in. But unfortunately, there was a car there. Thankfully, though, Florian did not play the part of Prost today and didn't take both of them out.
I was thinking that exact same thing as you said it there, Joe. That corner, obviously the site of the infamous 1989 coming together there. Matterson here now trying to see what he can do to pick up the pieces on Florian. Doesn't look like he's quite close enough to be able to get it, but he is at least going to be trying to fill the rear view mirrors of that red Porsche.
Bad news if you're a fan of Vidal Urbesh. He had a little bit of contact with Neiden in the 70 car. That netted him a black flag from the steward. So he's in serving that right now down towards the back of the fields. Well, it's not all that exciting up at the very front at the moment. Everybody is about 9/10, almost a second apart from one another or more than that amongst the top 10 as we watch them come along here down the front stretch. This is actually, I believe, Steinbreck that we're checking back in on. Steinbrink, excuse me. Now, see, now you got me doing it, Rachel. That's your fault.
I feel no guilt.
Yeah, here's... Oh, and actually, Jake had a spin that we had missed. So he's now not only down because of his pit stop, Rachel, but he's had a little bit of an excursion into the gravel.
Yep, unfortunately, he was thinking too much about the rabbits, and, well, you know the story. Either way, moving on. It's not gone that far, that dark yet, so we'll just leave that one for now. Let's hope the Grips of Wrath don't turn up in this one. On board with Faulkner here from the Lone Star region. Started in 6th, he's up to 3rd now, and again, we are these guys who are all about a second apart, being very polite, although the gap is 2.3 to Taylor, as Barger couldn't make it work early on, and he's now letting Taylor get away, which is the one thing you don't want to do. If you give Taylor that room, he'll just jet off into the English sunset.
Yeah, it is 4/10 of a second, though. It was 7/10 not long ago, so Faulkner's gained a bit. Let's see if he can do any more than this and actually start to turn the screws on that 043 machine. So we hop on board with El Baga, exactly where he started this race, while Faulkner is up 3 at the sharp end. That's actually pretty impressive. Like I said, we haven't seen a whole lot of passes, DJ, so Jake has made good on the early laps of this race.
Yeah, he certainly has, and he's been able to close in on the back of El Baga here to the tune of about 3 to 4/10 of a second on average over the last 3 laps. So I definitely think there's a little bit of speed here to be gained out of the number 3 car.
Falls back a little bit through the snake down into the Degners. Still hovers at about 0.8 of a second. They've dropped from Taylor. It is 2.3 now up to our leader. So once again, looking like things are in the hands of the 529, and it might be his race to lose unless he has some sort of issue later on as we come back to Ken Eskridge here in 17th. This is chasing on Lonray Sarumi. And just in front of them, they've also got Aaron Nation. So 3-way fight here, Rachel, to decide some of the mid-pack positions.
Yeah, these guys are looking to try and make some moves here. Eskridge, Sarumi Nations, as you mentioned, coming up towards, I think this is 200R. There's a few corners with numbers and names on them. I believe that's 200, I could be wrong. Or 200L. They guess weird. It's very strange.
Yep, 200R, I think, is the name.
Corner names, numbers. It's like, pick one or the other. Go for a number or a name. You mix the two. It gets weird then.
I do think it's interesting, the story behind those names is that apparently it's 200R is because that means 200-degree radius, and 130R is 130-degree radius.
Well,
so
I thought it might be partly about that. I thought there was going to be something more deep than that story, actually, because I figured it was degrees, but I thought you were going to say that someone did a whoopsie in that corner and it went that far.
No, just the radius of the corner, but I don't know. It's unique compared to a lot of corner names, so I give it that as we come down the front stretch, and some of them trying to maybe peek out of the draft a little bit, but I don't think anybody's nearly close enough for an attack down into 1 and 2. Ken Eskridge still at the back of it. Oh, and he really closes in on Sarumi, looking pretty confident on the brakes, DJ.
Yeah, very confident on the binders there, but he didn't really have the line set up to be able to take the move down into one. And so now he's just going to have to play a little bit of follow the leader here, coming up through the snake. This is not the area that you want to try to be making a pass. This is really one of the technical sections of the track. And as we talked about earlier, if you mess up one of the S's coming up there down the hill, it'll really throw you off for the entire rest of the run.
Well, he's held it nice and tidy for now. Loses a little bit of ground coming into the Degners. Surumi, though, goes deep. Keeps it from going out into the gravel, but is a little slow off the corner. Don't think Kin can take advantage of it here. He's going to run out of racetrack into the braking of the hairpin. But that's a good sign if you're the 06 car, Rachel, seeing those little bobbles.
Yeah, little bobbles mean stress is starting to show through, and if they can make a few more bobbles, you might be able to tie your hair up, or in this case, make a pass.
So we come
just as a translation there, that's what we call like hair ties over here, bobbles. So, sorry, joke didn't translate. I
oh, Faulkner! Faulkner has had it off!
Oh, no. And after doing so well at the start of this race, it looks like that might have been a big one. You don't usually have small wrecks coming out of 130R. And, man, he just cannot catch a break with somebody giving him a gap. Let's see what caused it. And once again, putting wheels over the curb, straddling it, Rachel, having two different types of grip doesn't bode well when you're going that fast.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is the common killer at Suzuka. Sorry.
Close.
Yeah, Cameron in our discussion here is talking about who owns the track and mentioned Honda, and I suddenly thought Suzuki in my mind rather than Suzuka. But yeah, unfortunately, that's going to be one of those common things. We see it all the time here at Suzuka. It's because this track is so fast and flowing. If you're off sequence slightly, you do end up getting shunted out a little bit wider than you'd like in some corners.
Indeed. And meanwhile, we've come up to Facciolo, who is up one position thanks to that incident that we just saw. And Diolosa is the next one up in the 90 machine, coming out of the Degners down to the hairpin once more. Half a second between them, but they have dropped away from El Baga by a full 5.5 seconds. It seems like the top runners are on another level today, DJ.
Yeah, it certainly does seem that they are. I'd be interested to see here, though, if Facciolo is able to clear Diolosa, if that means he's got a little bit more speed up behind him. We've seen a couple of times the cork in the bottle here being a thing, and I wonder if Diolosa is a little bit of that to Nick Facciolo. I'm looking at their fastest lap times, their last lap times. It looks like Diolosa is able to go a little bit faster, so maybe not quite that.
He's going to have to get a little closer because this is just way too far away behind him. Yeah, it looks like it's a similar distance between those behind him, but not here between Surumi and Nations. And it looks like Nations is trying to take the inside line just to go somewhat defensive, maybe cover him off. No, not going to be able to get side by side up into 130R, but if he can withstand the buffeting of the dirty air through the 130R corner, he does. He's going to take a look to the inside. Way deep on the brakes. Is he too deep, though? Yes, he is. Off into the paved runoff. There he goes. And he's going to cut across the course. He'll get a slowdown penalty from this, Rachel, but looks like he's already served it. Whoa! And he's going to loop it on top of it.
Well, you know, we were talking about how these guys are running a really strategic race here, how things have gotten a little bit quiet at the front of actual on-track passes, and they're focusing more on running their lap times here, trying to play the strategy. Yeah, he heard you. He heard you wanted excitement, and boom, there we go.
So Surumi...
He was like, here, watch me spin it.
Yeah, not the way I think he wanted that to go, though, as he gets sent way down the order. Richard Franco in the background, you also could catch a glimpse of the 30 coming into pit. And he, Steinbrink, Duffy have all taken stops. Looks like Donald Binkley has taken a scheduled stop. So a few drivers at the very back have already completed fuel service and are trying to go to the finish from here. Looks like Franco is going to return in 27th position. So we take a look up at Ken Eskridge now, who is still on the back of Nations. So Nations before had somebody else that he was fighting with and has now switched gears and gone on the defense from Ken Eskridge.
Indeed, just as soon as it switches one way, it's guaranteed to switch back the other there, Joe, as drivers really starting to struggle here as we cross over the halfway point. I think tire wear is starting to come in. It's a cool track, but this is a very, very slippery track, and you've got to constantly be on your edge.
Indeed, coming around out of the second apex of Spoon. Doesn't look like Ken's got the legs right now. He's not going to get nearly enough tow. So we switch farther back from him onto the roof cam of Dave Stewart. This is Elsom just in front of him. Well, I said that he'd only made up 5 spots. Make it 13 now. Some of those inherited by pit stops, Rachel, but I don't think all of them inherited by pit stops. This is a nice job up to this point. Oh, and Bruce Robinson just had an off.
He did indeed, and I'm still not sure why you're talking about Ken Eskridge's legs, but that's between you two. No, yeah, I think some of these positions are due to just good speed here, but there've been a couple of offs, just not quite this far back.
Well, it looks like instead maybe we'll be watching the legs here of Elsom, at least for a little bit. See, comes onto the front straight, but Facciolo in 4th. As Nick is still not caught. Dialosa is going to have to try and turn up the whip. Going to have to push a little bit harder or something. He's been stuck here at these 0.8 of a second behind Matt now for multiple laps. Wonder if he'll start thinking maybe an alternate pit strategy. Maybe I can try and jump him. Just trying to get into some clean air a little bit here. As he's been trailing behind pretty much since the drop of the green.
Yeah, he's been trailing behind, just trying to close in here a little bit more. And now if you've been able to save your stuff, Joe, if you've been able to really keep everything nice and together, you should be able to get a good push on here, closing into this pit stop window. Whoa, that's not the way you want to do it.
Just took a little excursion off the track. 717 back onto it, but now he's a full 1.1 seconds behind. So he's not feeling the slipstream, but he's also not feeling the buffeting. So a problem solved, I guess, as we come back to Patterson. And still sitting on the rear bumper of Daniel Florian. Patterson up 4 since they gridded for today's race. Florian up 1 since the drop of the green. Florian currently sitting nice and tidy. And as they come through 130R, will either of them maybe try and pit in? We're getting towards the end of the window now. Should be after this chicane if either of them elects to do it. Rachel, let's watch.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye out to see who goes for this here. Will either or will both, or will neither? Neither.
But is that Terrence Tong behind them? Yes, it is. That's Terrence Tong. And I think he's been gaining ground. Let me take a look at the lap times. Yes, he has. The 388 is starting to gain up to the rear bumper of that 29 machine. And in fact, just since we've hopped on board, he has already gathered up a few more tenths. And will he try and make an attack soon?
Well, let's see if he does. We know the outright speed that Terrence Tong has. He's trying to push ahead here in that number 388 machine. Not looking like he's able to close down a lot of time here coming up through the snake, but he's got plenty of time still to do it. 15 minutes left to go.
Couple more drivers pitted in the meantime. Douglas and Nations have been in and out. Douglas returns in 20 seconds and in clean air. So good call for the 810 at this stage if he wants to try and make a little bit of a leapfrog. And I think he actually did come out a little farther ahead from Nations than they were before. But we continue to watch here down into the hairpin as the front of our field just inside the top 10. Grotto leads, Florian leads, Patterson, and now Tong. It's all coming together, Rachel. They are, unfortunately for the middle drivers, getting closer and closer to one another.
Yeah, it seems like they are, which is going to be a tricky one, but we'll have to find out how they can try and gain that back. It's going to be a while yet though before we see how the outcome of this really plays forwards.
Watching the drivers close to pit entry right now. Oh, El Baca is heading in. So he's trying to play a little bit of a different strategy from Taylor for now as we keep watching the battle for ninth. Dialosa carries on. Facciolo comes in. Okay, this is getting interesting. We've got a little bit of mixed calls. Holmes is also pitting in. It is a smattering of vehicles on this lap. But what about in this group? Only Patterson and Tong are pitting in. They're at the back of the group, so that makes sense to me, DJ, that maybe trying to play a bit of a different strategy from those in front.
Yeah, indeed. The only thing they're really going to have to worry about here is just coming out into a little bit of slower traffic as they come around, as this field is pretty evenly spaced all around the circuit.
Another one where I try my best to knock on wood, Rachel, but I'm looking at the communications from the race director, and we've had only that single black flag for Urbesh, and we're down 12 minutes to go. This has been, at least compared to the first races in Challenge and Sport, also incredibly clean just in terms of overall racing as well.
Yeah, it really has. It's been flawless almost. A couple of self-spins, but even then we've had less self-spins in this than we have in either of the other 2 rounds at all.
Yeah, it's been really about trying to get to the end with minimal mistakes here, except in this case, it's not gaining positions, it's trying to keep from losing them. Oh, and off we go. Is this Taylor? This is our leader. Does he keep it out of the wall? I couldn't tell from the angle.
Yeah. Oh, that's big time loss. He's hit the wall there. He just backed into the wall, unfortunately. Here comes Dialosa. Oh my gosh. Yeah, like, why did he carry on straight? Why did he try and go across then back? It made no sense. Maybe it's frustrated, but that's a huge mistake.
He hit the gas and spun the wheels up. I went and watched on my screen, and that's what happened there. He's absolutely lost the lead after the pit stops on this one. There's no way he'll be able to retain it after that unless we get mistakes from others. There's where he lights him up. Thankfully, did not come completely into the racing line, but yeah, backed it into the wall. Took a little bit of damage. Dialosa is in pit lane at the same time that Taylor is. Looks like Glenn is pitting. Elbaga is our highest driver to have stopped. We anticipate, DJ, that he will inherit the lead.
Yeah, we will indeed, and he is going to come out and around right there, and Elbaga looking like he is going to get it.
Yep, but he is not officially in the lead yet. Ben Leung in the 290 carried on. He's able to go 1 lap longer than everybody else. Elbaga up into second. Dialosa emerges in third. Taylor, despite the little touch with the wall, does not have a terribly long stop, so damage not too bad, but it looks like he will be in 4th place when all shakes out, Rachel.
It's easy to lead when you're in first place. Can he get back there from 4th, though? Does he have the speed to back up his actions so far this season? This will be where he really proves how good a driver he is. Anyone can go fast in a straight line, drive a racetrack real quick. Doing it in traffic and passing people, this is the real test of a driver.
And I believe, I'm looking through, I think he holds the fastest lap currently, does Garrett Taylor. So he was pulling away from the rest. All signs point to him potentially being able to at least make progress if get up to the back of Matt Dialosa. Passing might be the whole other story, as he's already got it down to about half a second. We wanted some action. Well, the final 10 minutes really give us some here, with our leader making a critical error just before his pit stop.
Yeah, that is going to be absolutely mega and completely change around the operating procedure in this race, Joe. That is why at a track like Suzuka, you can never lose your focus, even for the briefest of milliseconds.
The bad news is it's such a huge gap up to Elbaga. Even Tamer's got about 11 seconds to Facciolo, and looks like in the realm of, I think, 14 seconds down to Garrett Taylor currently. We'll get a more accurate reading here in a second, because Ben in the 290 is finally pitting the last of the cars that needed a pit stop. But look at how this is closing in. This will be the battle for second place pretty soon, with Facciolo holding the lead of the trio, Dialosa in the middle, and Taylor in at the back of the train, Rachel.
Yeah, he's going for it here, and it's going to be interesting to see how he can take this one, but the opportunity exists. He can do it. He's got the speed, but where do you make the pass? Do you go for those classic spots, or are you going to try and make it somewhere unusual? Because he could put himself in trouble if he tries that.
Absolutely. Ooh, we got some side-by-side on pit exit with Glenn and Leung, as Ben has taken his stop, and he returns in 6th and barely fends off David Glenn. So he's going to be ruining not having just a couple more corners, maybe a tenth or two faster. He could have been ahead of him there, DJ.
And that all comes down to that pit stop in and out, really maximizing that in-lap, trying to get it out there. But Leong able to get the advantage here. This is not day done for David Glenn. The Hill Country region driver still has plenty of time, about 7.5 minutes to be able to try to gain this in.
Man, it's been just a miserable day for Vidal Urbesh. He unfortunately has lost internet connection, so a black flag, and now even the internet doesn't like him. As we come towards the hairpin, these two not done in their battle, but neither is the battle for second. Over, oh no, let's stay here as that was a very close moment coming off the corner. Bit of a mistake from Ben there, Rachel.
Oh yeah, bit of a mistake indeed. That could really cost him. Ben Young holding on to this one rather tentatively right now, as this will filter through, of course, but Ben has shown speed. But he can't show mistakes like that if he wants to keep where he is.
Ooh, he's awful close. This is mighty close. He could have a good shot here. He'll have the pull. Don't think it'll be enough to go wheel to wheel through 130R, but he could definitely have a shot into the Casio triangle. He's going to stay behind, wait patiently. He doesn't go wide off the corner either, and he doesn't make the send. So he's going to wait for something a little bit more secure, DJ.
Yeah, I'm getting the sense here that he just wants to wait a little bit more, see if he can get anything there. Trying to work it around. A little bit of a wider run there out of the Casio triangle, trying to maximize that momentum down this long front straightaway.
Keeping an eye on this and our battle for that third position, as well as they hover very closely together. In fact, you can see the distance between Taylor and Dialosa, but Facciolo is starting to pull away. It is up to 0.8 of a second ahead of them. No place to pass through the snake. The 529 has caught him, but now he's got to do something with him here, Rachel.
He has, and he'll have to try and find a way to make this change. Taylor can, but again, there's a lot of room on this track. The time is running down. Pressure will be on his mind. 5 minutes and he's in fourth. It's really going to make some risky moves. I think he has to.
He tried to take a look going shallow into the first Egner, and that cost him some time. Not sure if he was seriously trying it, and once again, looking on the brakes, came from a long way back. I mean, clearly, DJ, he's better on the binders here, but he's got to be careful. I thought he was going to ram into the rear bumper of that 90 car.
Yeah, I did indeed as well. He has got to be very, very careful not to be too aggressive here. You don't want to throw away a good finish here just to try to get a little bit of a better one.
Well, interesting to note as well in all this. Let's stay here, but Elbaga is looking for his first win of the series, of Series 8 here. And coming up the hill, getting close. There's a look to the inside, and Dialosa decides not to do it, but that back off has made him vulnerable. Here comes Taylor. He doesn't even have to outbrake him into the corner. He's fully passed. Can he keep it from sliding wide? Oh no, he goes a little too hot into the turn. Can a fight back lose him the spot? Dialosa, no. Cannot find the grip, Rachel.
Can't find it at all, and he's going to have to do what he can to maintain what he has. I think this is a struggle spot for him. He's really not finding his depth. He's got third, so it's a podium. But he really wants to get Facciolo. I think the chances of getting Albaga is done. Second is what he can hope for, and he has to push this thing hard now. Less than 2. I
thought, DJ, that was going to be a done deal the way that he sent that thing in. That he should be able to claim the spot pretty easily, but it's been his own worst enemy ever since he lost the lead.
Yeah, indeed he has. He's really just kind of made some careless mistakes around here that have really come back to bite him. Not exactly what you would expect there out of him.
So now he looks towards Facciolo, as Dialosa is behind, but just about gave it up. And as they come through the Degners, boy, he got a little loose there as the rear end started to step out. Don't think we've had many drivers close to the incident limit now that I think of that as well. It's another thing that hasn't seen too many dramas. Trey Davis, don't need to go to it, has had an off going wide into the first corner. He loses multiple positions, falls to 27th. And I was about to say before Elbaga is looking for his first win, and he's got a 12.8 second lead right now. There he is on your screen in the 043 car. 3 minutes left. I don't think this is going to be one to go. It might be a little tight here, Rachel, but I think he's going to get 2 to go.
Yeah, there's a good possibility of that. And 2, yeah, it's at least 2. Because you'll get one more line this time of pie, and then it'll be a second one. So there'll just be the opportunity, I think. But it's going to be really cutting it to quick.
Did we see Taylor's mistake here? Because you can see he's under threat right now. That is Holmes behind him, and he's going to be able to rebuff him. Here it is through Spoon Curve, and just like before, putting a wheel off and losing control once again costs him. This time, though, in the middle of Spoon instead of on the exit, DJ. So Taylor's back down to 4th once again.
And that's a little bit of an odd spin. That's just carrying a little bit too much speed through the corner, frankly, and I'm a bit surprised to see that happen to him there in that way.
I am as well. Man, this one has really shown him falling apart. Oh, and now Terrence Tong has had a problem. Not the first one so far this race. He also spins the tires up coming off of the Casio Triangle. That's going to send him down to 14th. Didn't hit anybody, thankfully, but he did clip the wall a little bit as he tried to get the car turned around.
Yeah, he did, and well, it's a bit of a clip. We've seen that's not caused too much problems for drivers here. Looking on board with Volker Krebs here, and Richard Franco ahead of him through 1 and 2. See how much he's got a Titans really as you filter through there, but yeah, back damage didn't seem to be quite as bad from what we saw, especially on Taylor.
Through the S's once again. I'm watching Elbaga now start to hit a little bit of lapped traffic that he's having to deal with. So he's not in too many dramas, but we watch behind through the snake as some of our drivers farther down try and make progress. We switch back to Taylor. Man, making quick progress with it, DJ. He's almost up to Dialosa already. He's half a second behind. Has dropped Holmes by multiple tenths. But I'm not too confident with only a lap to go he'll be able to make something that sticks.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. It's going to be very, very tricky. I mean, that 0.6 of a second gap. We talked about how long of a circuit Suzuka is, but it is still going to be very, very tricky to try to be able to get that move done. Focusing back on your leader there, Tamer Elbaga, as he comes out of that final corner to take the white flag.
Still at 12.5 seconds ahead of Facciolo. Nick's not doing too bad himself. Up 3 positions from the start of this race, picking up what other people are putting down and dropping of their own volition. Look at Dialosa behind him. He's looking like he might be under threat from Taylor. And if he's feeling aggressive, he's going to show himself in the mirrors. But no, he can't get the overlap into the first turn. Maybe the second part into the second apex here, Rachel. He's going to get the overlap, but he's not going to be on the inside for the entry to the S's.
No, it won't be the right place for him. He's going to try and switch back in here to get in line, and maybe he'll have a chance down into the hairpin after Degner's, but he's desperate here. He has to go for this. He wants that podium spot at least. This is the last lap. He has to do something here.
And he's definitely within striking range. He's got it down now to within about a car length on Dialosa. Matt starting on the podium. He'd like to at least finish there. Taylor, however, fallen off of it after beginning from the pole position down through the Degners. Still nothing doing there. Hairpin sometimes offers opportunities, but he doesn't look close this time. He's going to have to maybe size him up, I think, for the Casio Triangle, DJ. I don't think there's many good spots here until then.
No, I don't think there are either. That's going to be the one area that he's got to do, and he's just got to keep everything nice and clean until he gets to that point, not make a mistake through Spoon.
Coming up to Spoon now out of 200R. And pretty soon we're going to have to go over to Elbaga because there he is on your screen right now. Just a couple corners to make it to the checkered flag. He's been so close so many times this season, having second places, getting podiums. But Elbaga through the Casio Triangle is tidy, he's clean, and in Japan, he's finally gonna get a win here in the club class.
Getting it done in great style there. He deserves this one for sure. He's going to be a very happy driver tonight. And second place, Nick Fasciolo will come home there with that one. just behind our leader there, 13 seconds adrift, I should say. And Matt Dialosa held off a charging Garrett Taylor all the way to the line and managed to hold on to that thing. Impressive driving.
Yeah, great stuff. Less than 0.2 of a second between them when they finished. There's a lot of drivers that are close here as we come back to Krebs as well in a bit of a fight coming up to the Casio Triangle themselves, but he can't quite get his nose in. Franco in front of him. Oh, but Franco goes a little deep. He's going to have some wheel spin, but that is in front of Volker, and he can't put the power down, so it all falls apart for the 053 right at the end. Unable to capitalize on what could have been a spot. Meanwhile, this is Faulkner. Remember the issues he had as he was racing for a podium, as he's going to try to undercut Davis out of the chicane. Doesn't look like that's going to be enough either. He's going to be able to get some overlap, but he'll run out of track. Man, only 25th for the 3 car. That is absolutely gutting today. And a little bit farther behind, coming down to the line. Ooh, very close to the line. That was Robinson trying to beat out Markadakis, who unfortunately finished ahead of him by 0.03 of a second. That's going to take us to the results as Tamer Albaga takes the win after he inherited the lead from a mistake from the driver that led for most of the way, Taylor. Facciolo was in second as Dialosa will finish out the podium. Garrett Taylor only able to get a 4th. Brett Holmes was 5th today as David Glenn was 6th. Ben Leung in 7th, followed by Gary Reese in 8th. Logan Grotto was 9th, and Daniel Florian wound up in the top 10. DJ?
In 11th, it was Michael Patterson, followed by Kevin Douglas with Ken Eskridge and Terrence Tong in 14th. Aaron Nations was 15th, followed by Aaron Ambrosino with Jake Steinbrink and Richard Franco behind them. Volker Krebs was 19th, and Chris Duffy rounds out your top 20.
21st was Donald Binkley with Neil Urbesh in 22nd. Dave Stewart in 23rd with Trey Davis 24th up 6th. Manre Sarumi 25th with Kevin Harmon in 26th. Bruce Robinson 27th. Patrick Gill 28th. Rough day for Fabio Andrade in 29th with Jake Faulkner in 30th. 31st is George Makadakis. Andrew Elsom is 32nd. And the 2 cars 1 lap down. Mike Neiden in 33rd and Vidal Urbesh in 34th.
And our 3rd place finisher today was Matt Dialosa, finishing exactly where he started, but had to deal with pressure right at the end. Matt, you got passed by Garrett, then you got it back, then he was coming back on you. You're probably thinking you got to make up your mind, buddy.
Yeah, that was definitely exciting. I didn't know how it was going to turn out. My pit strategy was obviously flawed. I think I pit in 2nd and somehow came out in 4th. I don't know what was going on.
It was a wild finish, especially after during much of the race, it seemed like there wasn't a whole lot of action, especially up at the front where we didn't see a lot of changing around amongst the front drivers. Did you and some of the other club class guys get a chance to watch any of the challenge in sport race and see some of the unfortunate results there? And did that kind of inspire you guys to have a cleaner race today?
You know, I did not watch any of that. And in fact, this is the first race I've done in many months. So I'm feeling rusty and just really surprised by this result.
I was going to say, if 3rd is rusty, I can't wait to see what a good day can merit you. Speaking of that, next time out, I believe we are headed to Knock Hill, if that's correct. And that's going to be a very tight little track. Have you had a chance to run that one since you've been away from racing for a bit?
You know, I've never run there, but Friday next is the night before a DE, so I probably will miss that race.
Well, we'll see you when you come back, but anybody you want to thank that helped make this podium possible?
As always, my lovely wife for being so supportive of my hobbies.
Awesome stuff there from the 90 driver, and that's going to take us to 2nd place as DJ has caught up with Nick Facciolo.
I have indeed, Nick. A pretty defensive drive there, having to hold off Matt and a whole host of cars behind you, but how was it behind the wheel?
Oh, it was absolutely terrifying. I spent the first half of the race behind him and with the second half of it with him right behind me, and it was heart was pumping the whole time.
How much was that factoring into your pit strategy there coming in? I mean, were you hoping to jump him in that, or talk me through that mentality?
Yeah, that was absolutely the goal. If there was no way I was getting around him on track, I think he was definitely quicker than me, and I figured we both have to pit in the next 2 laps, so I'll do whatever he doesn't do, and somehow came out with me on top. I'm not entirely sure what happened or where his time went there.
Well, as we look ahead, we head to Knock Hill next, a little bit of a different track to this. How do you like the chances there?
Well, truthfully, I haven't turned a lap on it yet, so we'll see how I do next week.
All right, Nick. Well, we wish you all the luck in the world. Anybody you'd like to thank for today?
Yeah, my girlfriend Alex for letting me do this instead of taking her to get the car charged. This is much better.
Well, fantastic. That was Nick Pacciola, your second place finisher here today.
That's going to take us to our winner, of course, and Rachel has caught up with Elbaga.
It's got to be an amazing feeling, Tama, to come home with the win today in what was quite a busy race for you. Really hard charging, and then it seemed like the seas just changed.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously great to finish P1, first win in the PCA official races, so it's great for sure. I don't know. I mean, it was just Garrett had the pace, and I was thinking, all along, well, this might be another P2. He's hasn't put a foot wrong, and I'm just gonna stay with it. I don't know. I pit a lap early, and obviously something happened, and I found myself in P1. I said, okay, well, I got a nice gap. Just bring it home.
Well, one of the biggest parts of racing, in fact, often said, to finish first, one must first finish. So by doing so, you guess what? You won. It's one of those factors. Consistency is huge, of course. And just tell me about how the track actually behaved today, because we talked to the guys from the other 2 rounds, the challenge and sport classes. But for the club, what was it like today with the weather? How does this place race?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely getting warm and slippery. I can see it right away, even in qualifying. I was well off the pace in qualifying. In fact, I only put 1 lap in. I think I wasn't able to put the other 2 in. It was just that slippery. And as the race progressed, it kept getting more slippery. But I think one of the things I enjoy is as we get deeper into the races, I feel comfortable keeping the car, fairly safe and steady. And that's one of the things you have to do with this particular car. And obviously, this track, the way it was getting warmer and more slippery, I can only imagine it was just getting dicey for some. But yeah, I was able to keep it on track.
Well, that's the important part. So who makes it happen for you? Anybody you'd like to shout out or thank?
Yeah, of course, my family. I'm down here doing the thing again, and they're just relaxing, doing some other stuff. So it gives me some space. So it's fun, and definitely my team that we get to practice together. And yep, you guys for doing a great job as usual.
Well, thank you very much. Tama Elbaga coming home with the win today at Suzuka for the club class.
And we're going to take a break, but before we do, we want to remind you that PCA Sim Racing's social media offers in-race reports, breaking news, and announcements through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. To subscribe, key in the platform name and add /PCA Sim Racing. Stick around because Japan has one more race in store here with the Pro Class coming up here in Week 5 of Series 8. at him. It's going to be a race to the line. Does he have enough? Welcome back to Suzuka. We are now here with the Pro Class drivers in the PCA Sim Racing Series 8, and they are in the midst of qualifying. This is your provisional pole sitter, Michael Koholik. Nearly won in his first ever pro race, his first ever, I think, PCA Sim race here with this group. And unfortunately, the second lap's going to be a little slow, as it looks like he was trying to maybe cool the tires down a little bit and go for one final flyer. But much like we witnessed last time, DJ, there's a bit of a gap between our top two. It's 0.6 of a second this time, but it is Nicky Chan and make that Ed Eisenring, actually, as he's just jumped Nicky by 0.005 of a second.
Yeah, indeed he has, Joe, and so that's going to change things up there just a little bit up at the top with Ed Eisenring able to pip him away with that 0.005 of a second gap. Nicky Chan gonna have some time to be able to close that back down, though, so we'll have to see what he can do.
And not sure if it's going to wind up being round two between Chris Pies and Michael Koholik. Those were the two that tangled on the final lap last week at Summit Point, and unfortunately gave us a little bit of a controversial finish. But Rachel, I'm a bit surprised. Chris doesn't look all that strong here after his first two laps. He's only sitting in fifth.
That's surprising, I've got to say, Joe, and I'm not really sure what this means. Does it mean this is a track he's struggling with, or does this mean he's sandbagging in practice, qualifying?
I'm not sure. I don't know why he would want to sandbag in qualifying, because we saw how tough it was to make overtakes and how easy it is to make mistakes. He's going to put himself on the back foot here if he does start from this fifth position. A lot of cars to overtake just to catch up to Koholik, who seems to be the man to beat here as we check out with Jacob Schum in the 16th spot. He's just coming through the S's on his third and last flying lap. We've got, looks like about 2 minutes left, so he should have just enough time to get this in before the buzzer rings.
Yeah, indeed, is your final flying lap will not count unless you cross the line in time. So he is definitely going to be pushing here a little bit, seeing some good times. Schum, purple through the first two sectors there and a personal best through sector 3. So I think Jacob certainly has some speed underneath that 56.
Koholik just finished his last lap. He did not improve. Drawhorn went across at his last lap, deleted. Trying to see if we get anybody close to being able to get anywhere near Michael Koholik on this last flying lap in these few minutes. And so far, nothing is looking promising. Frankly, this is looking like he has got this one in good hands right now as we come up the back stretch, watching Jacob Schum just continue to try and get that a little bit faster to see if he can maybe reach the top 15, maybe top 10 here. Doesn't look like it's going to be a quick time based on what I'm looking at on my timing screen, though. And he brakes hard coming down into the final chicane, and he braked very early from what I could tell. Yeah, he's about a second off now, DJ.
He's about a second off. Let's see if the early stages of that lap are going to help him. They are not, because he is going to call it a day and head on down pit lane.
Got a couple others that might be able to change their times. I see Minkler, so I'm giving it a second to see if he is able to improve. And no, he is not. He is the last one. That means the grid's set, and it's going to be Michael Koholik, who comes back once again to show what he has. And Lee Peterson will be the one to fight with him now from second place, as Ed Eisenring will be third and Nikki Chan will be fourth. And it's Chris Pies who starts fifth today, with James Huth in the sixth position. Trey Drawhorn starts seventh. Rich Minkler P8, and row 5 has Ben Chapaje ninth and Arthur Chan in 10th. DJ?
Behind them, it'll be Glenn Dennis and Travis Brody, followed by Derek Cyphers and Chris Brown. Ned Nelson will line up 15th, with Dewey Kang and Jacob Schum there behind them. Lyle Eddy will be 18th, Gabriel Albano 19th, and Ian Simon will round out your top 20.
21st place tonight will be technical difficulties, Rosenberg with 22nd, Stephen Chen, 23rd, Robert Lacroix, Ogren Gerlap in 24th, Joe Stiefel 25th, Charles Yao is 26th, Chris Hunt in 27th, Mario Gonzalez 28th, Joe Sinclair in 29th, and Jeremy Masriello in 30th. Behind them, it is J.R. Gregory 31st, 32nd, Jonathan Waltman, Robert Cottle in 33rd, and Rodney Campbell 34th, with Carlos Lopez in 35th. Those last two not setting a time.
All right, well, they grid up, and they just about have everybody out there. Checking to see, looks like Drawhorn is still missing from the grid. And then I believe Joe Sinclair, as maybe a couple others at the very back, are also not quite out there. And we are missing our pole sitter as well. That is an open spot there on the right-hand side of your screen. Similar conditions to what we saw earlier in the club class, as it's 86 degrees Fahrenheit for our drivers. 87, I think. Yeah, 87 here today. It was 86 before. So still waiting for Drawhorn to pop himself on, as it looks like pretty much all the rest of the drivers are now there, and Drawhorn is out. So the engines should start to rev here momentarily. It's the last race of the week. The best drivers we've got, and the green flag is out, coming off the line. Koholik immediately dives to the right-hand side. Very good start from Eisenring from the third position, looking at second place, and he's going to get it. Peterson falls down to third, and behind them, they're getting mostly single file. Looks like Huth is in a side-by-side battle with Drawhorn in there. But coming through the S's, they're going to have to get this sorted out soon, DJ, and Drawhorn's not willing to give it up.
No, he's not, and neither is James Huth, but they're going to continue this battle around. I didn't think you could keep 2x2 going for this long through the S's, now through this final section, and it looks like Drawhorn's going to be able to pull ahead.
Huth has to give way down to seventh. Dewey Kang has an issue. He's into the barrier. We'll try and check and see what happened to him in just a moment. But already into the Degners, and not as big of a gap as what we saw at the last race there with the club cars. They stayed mighty close there behind the leader, with Eisenring dealing with a lot of pressure, Rachel.
It really is, and keeping this thing flowing. Very, very tight field in our pro race tonight. They're keeping themselves very honest, and it means there's going to be a lot more room, I think, for issue with the dirtier air.
And Kang had a little bit of help, unfortunately. I think got a bump from Albano. And then Glenn Dennis just had an issue as well that I'm trying to figure out what happened to him. It looks like he spun his rear wheels coming out of the hairpin. And this, I think, yeah, this is Kang. So this is the first incident coming through the snake.
Oh, a little bit of contact there, I think it looked like. I couldn't tell you who that was with, Joe, but definitely looked like Dewey got a little sideways. And then this is Glenn Dennis coming down into the hairpin. Just goosed the throttle a little bit too much on cold tires.
Similar issue for Eddie, who spun across the track coming out of Spoon. Very lucky a couple other cars managed to go by him without making contact. But we look at our leaders, and Koholik, well, I have to eat my words. I said it was a little closer. No, it's not. 1.5 seconds down to second place right now. Eisenring is not looking anywhere close. But behind him, look at this battle. Eisenring has a train of cars. Peterson, Pies, Chan, Drawhorn, all with him, Rachel.
Yeah, they're all going for this thing, trying to get themselves into a good spot to really liven this one up. Right now, it's looking pretty nose to tail. Everyone's just trying to hold a spot here, but they are all within that attack range here. So with everyone being so close, they can't really afford to attack without being attacked.
Well, through the Dunlop curve and into the Degners. Don't think anybody's going to attack into these. Very sharp kink. And then a heavy braking down into the second half of it. Everybody nice and tidy. We saw last time, DJ, even with the club drivers, the skill levels getting so great that you really do have to wait for those mistakes and major mistakes to really have any positions. And what I'm seeing here, to me, says that it might be similar. And here's a major mistake from Eddie. I mentioned his spin. Look at this.
Oh, whoa, very, very lucky he was not collected and T-boned across the track. It looks like he caught a little bit of the inside curbing that upset the weight balance in the car, drove out a little bit of understeer, and then tried to get on the throttle when he was out onto that ice grass, and that sent him right around.
Well, unfortunate for him, and he had to take it into pit lane because of that. He's since come back out, so I wonder if he took a spare car in the process. Meanwhile, look at Peterson continue to apply pressure on Eisenring. Lost that second place right at the start of the race. A little deep there from Ed. Leaf's going to try and capitalize. No, he can't find the space, Rachel. The car was right in his racing line, but we might go 3 wide. Look at this.
Ooh, they are going for a 3 wide here. 3 wide across the line as Suzuka. That's why they call them Pro Class. They're actually pretty good at going 3 wide. They practice that. They formation driving.
Peterson's going to get second place. Pies is going to get third. It's going to be 2 down for Eisenring. He'll be ruining that mistake. Chan just about puts him 3 positions down, but he finally shuts the door on that purple 000, DJ.
Yes, he finally does. Little bit of a look there to the inside, but nothing's really going to happen coming up through the S's. They have just got to keep this single file for here. Next overtaking opportunity that will present itself is going to be up into the hairpin.
So Peterson and Pies, after making that attack, have already distanced themselves from Ed. Ed is still on the defense. Look how close that purple 000 is to him. And let's not count out Trey Drawhorn back there in the 395. This could become a very interesting fight, but a great exit out of the Degners from Chan. Does not bring him a move. Oh, instead, it is going to be Drawhorn who takes a big look, Rachel, and smokes the tires.
Yep. I mean, 420 only just passed, but I really wouldn't do that to tires. Yeah, not going to be a good ideal solution for a race car here. They don't. The only thing high-end temperatures in those cars are a bad combination.
There we go. That's what we were talking about. Exactly. As they come down off of Spoon Curve, it's Huth now that's on the attack. He gets a great run on Trey, but he's also got Minkler in there as we watch from Brody a little bit farther behind them. And as they approach the corner, is anybody going to have a go down into the braking? A little bit of a look there from Minkler, but he can't quite get in. Ooh, contact though. Brody makes a touch with that was Chan on Banjo-Paje, and Braun almost had contact in and amongst them. Thankfully, nobody gets spun off course, DJ.
Yeah, just a little bit of incidental contact coming down there into the Casio triangle. That'll happen with the concertina effect sometimes when you're running this close to one another. You just have that little bit of bumping and banging as you go down into the corner.
Well, we're almost the first 10 minutes into this one. We're 4 laps in now, watching as they fly through the snake one more time. It's been a bit of a chain reaction down the order here, Rachel. We saw a battle at the front of the train, and then one by one, it's just kind of trickled farther and farther into the field.
It really has. It's been a knock-on effect as everyone's started fighting. It's gotten closer and closer, which makes a big difference there for them. So we're going to see a really tumultuous race, I think, as this progresses.
Ooh, almost a look from somebody there in this group. This is amongst Braun, Chan, and Banjapaje into the Degners, way wide off the corner there for Banjapaje. And Chan takes a little peek, but then comes back to the racing line, down into the hairpin. They still have Travis Brody in there as well. And as they accelerate towards Spoon, the order is going to be Banjapaje 9th, Chan 10th, Braun 11th, and Brody 12th.
Indeed, it is spreading out here a little bit, but one of the battles that is not spread out, that's Ed Eisenring and Nikki Chan. This battle continues to be very, very fierce. Chan trying to get the good run in that 000 machine off of Spoon. I'm not sure he quite got it, but he'll at least get a little bit of help from the toe here.
Flying up the backstretch towards 130R. Yeah, they're all separated right now. I don't think we're going to get anything here, but look at this. And off and pulling aside Eisenring. Did he have a slip up or did he give that away intentionally?
I think he might have made a bit of a mistake and had to give up some time there. One of those, an unfortunate gain of time from not completing the quarter correctly.
Yeah, I went back and looked, and he did straddle the curb a little bit. I wonder if he lifted just to try and make sure that the car did not spin out on him coming off of 130R. If that's the case, that cost him a spot, and Chan is now up into 4th. And Chan's having connection problems. Well, let's hope that that does not continue, because they do black flag drivers for that sometimes. And Drawhorn, I think, getting onto the radio asking what the heck happened.
Yeah, a little bit confused there, and that can be a very disconcerting thing if you are a driver trailing, as you're not going to know where that car is going to be placed once it gets around and going. But we focus back on the battle here. This is Drahorn trying to close down on Ed Eisenring. Oh, you can't do that through the Degners, boys.
Oh, yeah, he is going to back out of it. Thankfully, Huth catches up because of it. Now they have a whole lot of friends. Minkler, Banjapaje, Chan, Braun, all in amongst. Unfortunately, the stewards have had to give a warning to Nicky Chan for the problems with his internet connection. If it continues, they will black flag him. So let's hope that is going to be resolved by whatever is happening with his internet. Meanwhile, look to the inside. Drawhorn almost managing to get an attack on Eisenring. Boy, Ed has not been able to retain positions. He started this race in 3rd, Rachel, and since then it's just been bleeding him.
It's really not been ideal for him, unfortunately. He's having to fall back with this and see where his car ends up in this race. It may not be his day, but look at how thick this traffic is. If you lose one, you lose two.
And instead it was going to be Drawhorn who had to go defensive there. That was James Huth trying to make a go at things. Banjapaje ducks to the inside, but Minkler does not give up the spot. And as they come around out of the final turn, the drivers have got great opportunities on their hands here, DJ. The question is, if one, they'll be able to take advantage. Two, if they can make it clean, because we've already seen how badly wrong things can go here.
Yeah, this is a circuit that really does invite some argy-bargy as they work their way around. Very, very tricky to try to do it. One of the best ways to do it, I still maintain, trying to go the outside of that 1st and 2nd corner. I think some drivers are going to have to get a little bit aggressive, though. I think we may start seeing some attacks going down into the hairpin.
They fly through the snake up towards Degner. Last time out, we saw a little bit of a look from Drawhorn on Eisenring and then decided against it. This time they're going to stay single file, flying through that swift kink and braking for the second part of the Degners. So nothing doing for the time being. Oh, but Ian Simon has had an off. The 87 has found the kitty litter coming through the Degners, and I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen more drivers flying off there today, Rachel.
Yeah, it's been really lucky so far, and the commentator's curse now strikes. Everyone's about to pile off the track in the same place. But we'll see a replay here coming up towards the Degners. And it's through the first one and just dumps the back end there, and that's why there's a ton of runoff there. It's almost like they designed it for that.
And they actually did have to change the design. It used to be that it was one long curve, and thankfully that change allowed them to get some runoff through that first part. I think it almost looked like he touched grass a little bit, the way that the car spun so immediately, but we'll try and check on that a little bit later. In the meantime, this is Christopher Pies with Leif Peterson in front of him. Chris up to the podium, but nowhere near trying to challenge Koholik at this stage, so I don't think we're going to get round two, as we mentioned, DJ. Looks like instead it's going to be Leif and Chris.
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to be as well. And Chris was looking very, very good coming out of 130R and down to the Casio Triangle. Lost a couple of tenths there. I'm wondering if he's just a little bit struggling there in some of the lower speed corners, just not getting the car to grip quite the way he would like it to. We'll have to see how he handles here through the snake.
And these two have pulled well away from Nicky Chan, who is the next one down. Nicky's internet connection seems to have cleared up. We haven't heard any further news from the stewards, and we haven't seen any blinking either. So the 000 for now is safe. As we go back to Drawhorn once again, this is Eisenring in the silver and orange coming out of the Dunlop curve. He had a look once before. He's not going to have another look this time. A lot of that inside curve there, Rachel, as he gets aggressive coming into the Degners.
Yeah, if he takes any more of that curb, he's going to have to pay for it. That's quite generous, shall we say, in terms of portions. Coming down, though, he's got the speed here. It's looking pretty strong still, so there's plenty of opportunity, I think. And with our time window here, we have entered that early pit window portion again. So the early takers in traffic might start taking it now.
So the portions for the Porsche are getting greedy for Koholik. He's up to 6.5 seconds for the number 2. And doesn't have to deal with someone challenging him this time, but we'll see if that changes once we get to the pit stops. Coming off of Spoon Curve, Eisenring still towing along Drawhorn. Huth still amongst them too, but I don't think they're close enough that we'll see any sort of big measures, unless Trey is feeling ambitious here, DJ.
Yeah, and I think he may try to wait a little bit. Now that we're starting to enter into a little bit of that pit stop window, unless there's an opportunity a little bit like that to present itself for Trey, as that Eisenring doesn't exactly have the best run through the Casio Triangle, making me eat my words. Here comes Trey Drawhorn.
Just can't get the exit, and Eisenring gives up the spot. He could fight back around the outside. No, he's going to lift, and Huth is passed as well. Oof, Eisenring now down 4 positions from where he started this race, and still it's not over. Those behind him are all stacked up. It's Minkler, Banjapaje, Chan, Braun, Brody, Nelson. It goes all the way back to Cyphers and Schum in 15th, Rachel.
Yeah, it does, and wow, getting it done exactly as they need to. This is huge. We're seeing such a big tie-up here. Much bigger gaps we saw during the previous round. Another guy there with VR. A fantastic system, of course, for racing. Gives you a lot of spatial awareness, which is what I think a lot of people miss, even with triple screens compared to real life. But it still doesn't have that butt-in-seat feeling, of course. But this is a much tighter group we've seen so far tonight. They really are all on top of each other, which is changing the dynamic of the race.
It is. It's quite different from what we witnessed in all of the others. They've each had their own flavor so far this week here at Japan. Coming down into the Spoon Curve. I don't think it's quite close enough here for Minkler. He's continuing to chase as we look up ahead of them now to Huth and to Drawhorn now looking down. Ooh, and that is very close, though, and almost contact.
No.
That was Brody, and Brody keeps it from skittering off into the runoff, but he loses positions.
Yes, he does, and he's going to find himself under a little bit of an attack here, I believe, from that is Schum coming up behind him there, down to the inside in that purple machine, and so a lot of problems there for Travis Brody.
That's Braun and Nelson side by side coming into the corner. Nelson chopped off a lot of that apex. checking to see if he got a black flag. No, he did not, but he doesn't find the grip. Braun runs away from all of them, hoping that maybe he can get away from the chaos. And now Nelson feels the need to go defensive because that Cypher's behind him. Schum, once again, wanting more than that, but then decides against it all the way with the shallow line down into turn 1, Rachel. And Nelson will retain that 12th spot.
Yeah, he certainly will. And we're on board now watching this group. There's switched to the long view from Casio Triangle. You know, this is the S's, sorry. I'm around the wrong side of the racetrack. Hey, these things can sometimes look this way from the camera perspectives. Please forgive me. As we are coming up now towards the latter part, then we come up through Dunlop here into Degner again. And with these guys starting to get a bit to midpoint of the race, we're starting to see a couple more unforced errors. Joe, are we now starting to see the tyres reach that critical point like we've seen in other rounds where it seemed to be the incidents mostly happened in the second half?
I think you might be right. In fact, Ian Simon might be experiencing what you were talking about because he just had a spin and a wreck out of turn 2, had to take a tow. I think he has called it a day. Yes, he is officially out of this race now, I'm seeing on our scoreboard. So, man, unfortunate that a few are falling victim, but even the best can get bit by this place, DJ.
Indeed, we talk about it being a driver's circuit. Well, that's because it is so technical and so difficult, and the reward that you get as a driver when you absolutely nail a lap around here, that doesn't mean it's an easy track by any stretch of the imaginations. It means actually the opposite, that it is a very difficult track, as Chris Pye's starting to put some pressure on Leif Peterson.
He wants at least that second place. He got demoted after his penalty from the end of the previous race. He finished across the line first, but then was sent, I believe, down to 13th position after his contact with Koholik. Lost him the win. Gave a bit of a surprise one as well to Rafael Amorim. But Amorim's not here today, unfortunately. It is up to these guys to sort out who finishes on the podium. But Peterson's dealing with it well. We haven't seen too many mistakes other than losing that second place early on in today's race. And jumping back to Chen, haven't been able to watch a whole lot of him. This is Geralp that's down to the inside, but Chen gets it anyways. Lacroix is going to try and see if he can use this to his advantage, but nothing doing for now, Rachel.
No, nothing doing for now, as we still watch this group on board with Waltman here, Santa Barbara region driver. Started up in 32nd. He's up 11 spots so far in this one. Big movement from him.
Got to give a little love here to the mid-pack because there's been some good racing. It's just we've had such great racing up towards the front of the field. And these guys fight just as hard for these ones. It takes immense skill, DJ, to get into this pro class of the PCA sim racing series. As did Drawhorn just lose a position? Drawhorn side by side.
Yes, indeed, he is side by side there with James Huth as they plunge their way up 200R into Spoon. This is going to be a tricky braking zone, Joe.
Oh, barely giving each other enough room coming through the corner, and once again they squeeze together, nearly rubbing doors, but Drawhorn cannot make that wide line work. It's going to be advantage Huth up the hill. He's got the momentum. He could shut the door. He's holding that inside line. No, coming back at him. Now it's Drawhorn, and he's got great straight line speed as they go side by side through 130R. They both managed to hold out, but now they've got cars close behind them, sending it far into the Casio Triangle. Huth manages to take the position, looking to cut back. Drawhorn doesn't have the grip. It's Minkler who winds up ahead behind them as they get more battling. Banjo Page and Eisenring now side by side, Rachel.
Oh, big moves here by these guys as they do exactly what they need to do. And oh, looking here, Drawhorn looks to the outside for one. It's a big funnel corner. Is it a crossover move, though? Will he go for the inside as he goes wide? Will he try and power through here? He's got a good run, but it's not going to be enough.
So it'll stay in the hands of Huth for the time being. Drawhorn in 6. Minkler still in that 7th spot is behind them. Banjo Page gets 8th. Eisenring back to 9th. 10th is Arthur Chan, and Braun falls to 11th. Take your pick. The spots are going to change lap to lap, DJ.
Yeah, they really and truly are. These battles just absolutely fierce and electric all up and down the field as we have crossed over the halfway point in this race. Look for some of these drivers involved in this battle to maybe think about coming down pit lane here, trying to extricate themselves out of it and run some clean laps.
I'm looking at some of those farther behind. I'm thinking if I'm Ed Nelson, definitely time to duck in. He sits in 12th behind them. Maybe even guys like Cyphers and Schum back there, who are seeing them battling so much and are probably going to catch them relatively soon. But nobody makes a pass into the hairpin amongst them this time. Let's see if anybody gets the exit off the corner. It was coming into it last time that it all erupted.
Yeah, it was, and exactly where you don't want to be making a mistake again, because, well, repeating issues only makes them tend to come out worse once you try that. But keeping it clean for now, some good runs here, but everyone's, I think, just in a far enough apart to keep this in order.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we'll see an attack here. I'm keeping also an eye on Pies and Peterson. Neither of them change positions. We're watching from Nelson. Let's see if he pits in this time. Huth and Drawhorn are going to stay in line. Everybody in front. Yep, nobody showing any signs of attacking into the corner. So what is Nelson going to do as he comes to the pit entry? He is going to stay out, but the man in front of him, Chris Braun, is going to pit in, DJ.
All right, so Braun saying, I've had enough of this. He wants to be able to come down pit lane here, top off, as we've got a little bit of side-by-side down the main straight.
Coming into the first corner, who's going to be able to give way? And is going to go to Eisenring as Chan can't quite get it done. He still holds tightly to the back of that number 929, flying into the S's. They start to lose touch with Eisenring, not just because of the battling, but also because of the pit stop from Chris Braun.
Yeah, they have, and well, Braun is going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on. We will keep up with what his positioning ends up being, but clean air will be huge. Look how close everyone is. They're in dirty air, they're packed up, they're not able to go their full speed. I want to get out of this. I want to get that clean air.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like this is not the place to be right now. Yeah, it might be fun if you're not thinking about the big picture, but this is the danger zone, and coming down into the hairpin, Drawhorn just hovering about a car length behind on Huth, who spins the wheels up just slightly, but not enough to hurt himself, as he'll retain that 5th position. Will any others maybe try to get in? Braun is now our highest driver to have pitted. Looks like Brody also came in, something that I don't think we covered before. So the 020 has finished his stop. The only other driver I see that has taken a scheduled stop is Stephen Chen in the 16. Otherwise, everybody, as we traditionally see, DJ, is electing to go long.
Yeah, that tends to be the common strategy around here, but we'll have to see if anybody else decides to maybe break in a little bit early, specifically if they're involved in these battles. Your leader, Michael Kohalik, obviously staying out there, waiting to see about Peterson and Pies. Both of them are going to stay out.
So Christopher coming down the front stretch, sees Peterson just ahead by about 0.3 of a second, but not able to really put an attack on, at least at this time. Ooh, Drawhorn's looking like he's closing. Drawhorn's actually looking on Huth and then decides not to take it coming into turns 1 and 2. So we continue to watch through the snake here for 2nd and 3rd spot, trying to figure out how the rest of the podium will settle. Ahead of them, Kohalik, 10.4 seconds up the road.
Yeah, Kohalik really has had a fantastic race today. 10 seconds into pro class? That means you're quick. That means you're real quick. Like, these are the pros. If you're gapping the pros, you're like a pro. Or is it a pro?
Well, and we have to remember, I know we said it a little bit earlier, but for those that are just joining, this is only the 2nd PCA race ever for Michael Kohalik. He is just really proving to be a force of nature, and I got a sense that he is going to be dominating future seasons, as he came in partway through on this one. So probably not in contention for a championship in Series 8, but certainly is going to be taking points away from players who are looking for valuable markers throughout the season, as we continue to watch on board with Ed Nelson in the 11th position. That is Arthur Chan. just in front of him in the 959, DJ.
Indeed, just coming there out of Spoon, that long draft train really starting to form, waiting to see what it's going to be. This is that area of the field that I would expect some more drivers to maybe think about coming down pit lane. Nobody really close enough to make a move.
There's the call. Pies is in. The 14 takes it a lap earlier, most likely, than everybody, or than the car in front of him, Peterson. What about those in this group? Looks like Huth is going to pit in, Minkler's going to pit in, and Cyphers is going to pit in. All the others in that pack we've been talking about continue on.
Yeah, they do for now. There may be next lap or the lap after. We'll have to see. It's still in that late window, so they're going to have to come at some point, obviously, because I don't think anyone can hope their car across the line.
No, it's nobody can save enough fuel for that one, that's for sure. As looks like, bad news for Pies fans. He's come out into traffic. He's stuck between Geralt and Lacroix. This is not boding well.
No, that is not what you want to see when you come out of traffic like that. So Chris is going to have to try to get his way by Oregon Geralt as fast as possible here to try to maximize on the lap time. Leif Peterson hopefully has got a spotter on the box that can recognize that, and Leif is going to know that it is full push time.
For a while there, we were watching Reinsberg and Stifel, but now we're looking at those who have just taken their stops. As I mentioned, Pies here is in a horrible position. He's going to have to try and make quick work to overtake on the 734. So far, hasn't really had any opportunities through the S's, and defensive moves from Orgun is not going to bode well.
No, they're not, and it's going to really delay things. So that is not a circumstance you'd really want to be in with that. It's going to really hurt any benefits you get from that strategy call. So yeah, I have to try and work this one out quickly, or else.
Koholik pits. Peterson still hasn't come to the pits yet, but we anticipate he will be in as well. I think we only had one driver make it through lap 15 in the previous race. Yep, Peterson trundles down to the entrance cones. Chan follows. Drawhorn, Banjo Page, Eisenring. There's our gambler. Eisenring stays out. Chan follows him. Both of them light on the right foot here today. They will inherit the lead temporarily. Not by a whole lot. Already, Michael in the 2 car is back out, DJ.
Yeah, indeed. He's actually able to stay ahead of Jacob Schum, who is the 3rd driver in line to be able to stay out there. So that just shows you the absolute pace that Michael Koholik has. Really, really impressive stuff, and important for Michael. He is now out in clean air, checking to see what the rest of the drivers.
We got to go to Pies. We got to go to Pies. He just went around the outside. It worked out. He has jumped Peterson in the pits, but it was close. We need a replay of this one. He inherits 2nd place, but he couldn't have cut it any closer than this, Rachel.
Oh no, Pies sliced the pie there rather neatly and got it done exactly as he had to. That's a great move. That's real momentum carrying.
Got his piece of it, and that has put him into 5th, but eventually will promote him into 2nd once the pit stops are done. But Koholik is going to be our leader as we're waiting on Eisenring, Chan, Schum. Only 3 able to make it here to lap 15 on the pit stops. And Pies, who I thought maybe was going to get held up with that extra traffic, DJ, has certainly proven me wrong. Imagine what it would have looked like if he was in clear air. Meanwhile, this is down into the hairpin, watching the fight for 12th with Cyphers, Braun, and Brody.
Right, running 1, 2, 3 here out of the hairpin. Cypher's doing a good job to get a good exit out of there, but it does look like Chris Braun has a little bit of a good run here. Probably not going to be able to execute coming through Spoon, but just see if he can carry a little bit more momentum there. Off the apex of the first corner, you see Cyphers running very, very wide. Those are just different strategies to keep up that speed through that long left-hander.
Eisenring and Chan have pitted in, and Schum has as well. That's everybody done with their stops. Coming down towards 130R as we head over to those 3 that are taking their stops. And there is Pies inheriting second place officially now. But the distance between himself and Michael is about 11.5 seconds. The two just continues plugging away and showing just how much pace he has. Meanwhile, look at this. This is Braun that we're on board with, trying to see if he can close down in Cyphers. In fact, he's going to take a little bit of a look. Oh, that was close, but the door has been slammed shut, Rachel.
Yeah, it certainly has. And wow, he has got himself. He had a good look. It was worth trying, but when you slam that door, it's definitely a statement saying, you ain't coming past me and I want to hold this towards the end of the race. So it changes your strategy from I'm going to make this pass quite easily, I have the speed, to this guy's going to defend, and that I have to be aware of.
Saw Dewey Kang into the pits. I think Dewey had to take an extra stop after getting repairs early in the race, so he must have made a second one just now after he's topped up on fuel last time out. Meanwhile, through the Degners, watching this never-ending fight here amongst multiple of the mid-pack drivers, have not had a single chance to relax, and that's what I wonder about, DJ, as well. 40 minutes isn't a terribly long race, but the stress, the level that these guys are racing at, as we watch from Brody's machine, this has got to be just exhausting, never being able to just focus on your own race. They've always been in and amongst a fight.
Yeah, it's incredibly mentally taxing, Joe. It's almost akin to running an oval races. Oh, that is a big off there in front for Chris Braun. Lucky he's able to gather that back up under him. But yeah, it is incredibly mentally taxing because you're always looking ahead. You can actually see a little bit of frustration there coming out with Travis Brody, as I think he was a little bit upset that he missed the apex coming off the corner. And it is one of those things that you cannot simulate when you are in constant wheel-to-wheel battles, just how exhausting on the brain that it is.
Also had a spin from Cottle. Don't need to go there. Chris Hunt just accidentally tipped him the rest of the way once he had already spun. Couldn't avoid him coming through the hairpin. Meanwhile, onto the main straight as we start to accelerate into what has wound up being a rather popular passing zone with a few drivers. Isn't going to be a passing zone this time, by being led by Schum there in the 11th place. And Brody, well, you said he was missing apexes. He was about a mile away from the apex that time.
Yeah, very much so. And that's going to really slow him down. It's maybe a sign that he's going to get a little tired, or he's maybe kind of paid his attention elsewhere. If he's going to miss the apex by that far, then he's not concentrating properly on the driving.
Riding on board with James Huth now. He's trying to keep up with Drawhorn in front of him. These two have also been glued at the hip for a good chunk of the race, and they're using every inch all the way off to the AstroTurf there on the exit of the second Degner. Our biggest movers, though, in this race have been a little bit farther down. Both have been quite anonymous. Jonathan Waltman up 13, Carlos Lopez up 14 so far in today's race, and can't think of a time that we've actually even shown them during today. And down into the spoon curve, Drawhorn. He's going to have to get a good exit here, DJ, because Huth is looking pretty close, and he's off the apex.
Oh, this could be close indeed. I think Huth smells some blood in the water. He is going to be on full charge mode here. Already looking a little bit to the outside as they go down the backstretch going into 130R. I don't know if Huth is going to try to be brave enough to make it through there. He is not, but a closer line through there. That actually cost him a little bit of time, and I think it cost him a chance to attack into Casio.
Nah, just wasn't there. He's got 4 more minutes, so we're looking at 3 more laps to go for our drivers. As 4.5 really is plenty of time for Koholik to come around and take an extra one. I think everybody should be fine on fuel. Didn't see anybody take it extra short in their pit stops, but coming down into the opening hairpin, Drawhorn not only has Huth, but here comes Banjapaje. He's been chipping away, and the 770 wants to see if maybe he can get into the top 5. Rachel?
Yeah, looking for something here, Banjapaje, trying to find his way. The Metropolitan New York region driver better drive like a taxi in Manhattan here if he wants to make this move.
Hopefully he's not as aggressive as a taxi in Manhattan, or he might find the wrath of the stewards. Meanwhile, James Huth just poking and prodding, but can't get Drawhorn to go off the racing line. This is all behind Nicky Chan, who's still in 4th position, but it's about 3 seconds up the road to Nicky Chan. So it'll take something special to cut that down and pull that 4th place away from Nicky. I think this is more a case of Trey probably being on the defense for the remainder of today's event.
Yeah, I think it certainly will. Nicky's going to have to be looking in his rearview mirror a little bit there as they go around. But still, this battle between Drawhorn and Huth, very, very close. Let's see if James is able to get a better run out of Spoon. They both take those very similar lines that they did last time around, and it looks like it's advantage Huth here, but is he not going to be able to have the closing speed?
Last time, he almost seemed to back out a little bit coming through 130R. Let's see if he does the same here. He breaks a little early, and it gives him actually a bit of a run, but not enough of one. He breaks, and Banjapaje also does not try and overtake him into the braking zone. They come to 2 to go now for these drivers. The opportunities, Rachel, are starting to dwindle.
Yeah, they really are, and this is when you've got to put those last moves in. People are close enough. We could see some late race action. It's going to be tight, though.
Oh, Braun is heading in. Braun is into the pits, and he's got a black flag. I think, yes, he has run into the incident limit. So Chris Braun, as far as we can tell, the first victim of that today in the pro class, and it'll be somewhat costly as he's going to lose about 4 positions, it appears.
Yeah, indeed. We're hearing that he did indeed hit that 12 incident marker, and we've seen a lot of drivers running very wide at different ports of this track, whether it's at the outside of 130R, whether it's going through Spoon. Drivers are going to have to be careful here in these last 2 laps that they don't end up with the same fate as Chris Braun.
Through the Degners, Drawhorn can't seem to shake Huth, but I mentioned the gap he has to make up to Chan. Well, it's been cut down to 1.9, 1.6 seconds. I wonder if Chan might be short on fuel or something here, because they are gaining rather rapidly here, Rachel. And he actually had a longer pit stop, from what I can see, compared to all those behind him. So I'm not sure why he would be short on fuel.
Not sure. He could just be short on tyres, too. That could also be a factor. You've got to really think of what he's going to be facing now. He could have budgeted his fuel for a certain racing style, not having to push quite as hard. Maybe he's pushing harder than he planned for. But it could simply be just tyre grip. He could just be lacking in the cornering ability.
White flag waves for Michael Kuhalik, and Chris Pies in second is a full 13.5 seconds back. Peterson still breathing down his neck. There's your leader on screen now. And Peterson is the silver car that you see, with Pies running in the white car. Still hustling him every corner he can, making sure that he can't slip up 1 iota. We come back to Schum in the meantime. This is the fight for 10th position. He's mighty close, DJ, but he doesn't think he's close enough.
No, doesn't want to send it in there, doesn't want to sacrifice this position, gets a little close to the back there as they come through the second part of that first corner. Now they work their way up the snake. He knows, Schum knows, that his opportunities for an overtake are running out.
It's do or die time. Same deal with Drawhorn and Huth, and there you see them on your screen right now. James has managed to reel him in. He could get aggressive here and managed to make an attack, maybe down into the hairpin. No, he falls back a little, coming into the Degners 1 and 2. Little bit of a slide coming off of it from Drawhorn. This, I don't think it's on right here. He's just a little too far back, it looks like, Rachel. Meanwhile, up at the very front, this is Koholik, who has got himself those 13 seconds over Christopher Pies. It's the drivers.
Yeah, sorry, Joe. He's really close to him, but I think it may not be enough.
Certainly not, and it's definitely not going to be enough here for anybody to take the win after he got himself rudely pushed aside back at Summit Point in Japan. It'll be victory in try number 2 for car number 2, DJ.
It will indeed. A fantastic drive here from Michael Kohalik. Chris Pies behind him has got to wait a whole 13 seconds to be able to cross the line, trying to hold off Leif Peterson until the bitter end. Peterson trying to see if he can get anything coming out of the Casio triangle, but I just think Pies has got the advantage over him, and indeed he does. Chris Pies takes second.
Trawhorn with 5th over Huth in the end. And behind them, Schum couldn't get Minkler, even though he was trying to. Reinsberg beats out Stifle across the line. And then, we got a close one between Braun and Waltman here. This is down in 18th position. If Waltman can get a good exit, no, it's not good enough. So Braun will retain 18th position as the rest of them trickle across the line. 26 starters finishing on the lead lap out of 35 out there. Whew. What a race for our drivers. This is Chen and Gregory. This is for position. Not sure if the 218 is going to lose this one, though, as long as he's nice and tidy through the last corner. He's a little deep. And that's going to be an attempt from Chen to maybe outgun him off the turn, but a little too late, as Gregory will retain that 25th position. I believe that takes us to a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews in just a moment, so stick around.
This is for the win. Still 4 abreast into the braking zone. This is sensational racing.
And getting ready to cross. He goes around the outside, but it's not enough.
And for a way by it all.
Gonna come back at him. It's gonna be a race to the line. Does he have enough? Welcome back to Suzuka, as we just witnessed Michael Kohalik take the victory after he almost got robbed of it last time out. He made sure that there was no problem in being assertive and taking the win here today. Pies was a full 13 seconds behind, but he was ahead of Leif Peterson, who he overtook for that second place, as Nicky Chan was 4th and Trey Drawhorn was 5th. It was James Huth in P6 and Banjo Pajay in 7th. Eisenring couldn't find the pace today. 3rd to 8th for him. Arthur Chan was 9th, and DJ, it was Rich Minkler rounding out your top 10.
In 11th, it was Jacob Schum who was involved in that epic battle with Minkler and Cyphers. Travis Brody behind them with Rick Reisenberg and Joe Stiefel in 15th. Oregon Gerlop was in 16th, followed by Robert LaCroix with Chris Braun, Jonathan Waltman, and Carlos Lopez rounding out your top 20.
21st was Chris Hunt with Ed Nelson. 22nd, Dewey Kang. 23rd there with Robert Cottle. 24th, J.R. Gregory. 25th, with 26th, Stephen Chen. In one lap down, we have Gabriel Albano, Mayra Gonzalez, Charles Yao. Lyle Eddy is 30th, and behind them it is Ian Simon, Joe Sinclair, Jeremy Masriallo in 33rd, with Glenn Dennis in 34th, and Rodney Campbell in last place, 35th.
That takes us to our winner here today, Michael Kohalik, as it was of obviously contentious circumstances a week ago. But Michael, it looked like you wanted to put the nail in the coffin on this one. Nobody could touch you.
Yeah, after the end of the race last week, like, nothing against Chris, because that's just racing. These things happen. I don't hold anything against him for it. I probably would have gone for the same move last week. But after that, I just wanted to make sure that wasn't possible.
And that you did. It seemed pretty straightforward from our perspective, but we've seen so many drivers fall victim to this track this week. So how much practice did you have to put in to find this monstrous pace?
A lot. I'll put it that way, a lot.
I'll take your word for it then. Well, I mean, a near win in the first one, an assertive win in the second one. You have a few more races left to finish out this Series 8. Is this going to be continued dominance, or do you feel like those other guys are going to start to buckle down and try and take the fight back to you?
I feel like I don't really know what the other guys are going to do, but it should be interesting coming into the next few weeks. I guess I'll just keep putting in the same amount of effort and see what happens.
That sounds like the best you can do. Well, again, congratulations. Is there anybody you'd like to thank for today's victory?
Yeah, my mom, the guys back at Geo, Graham, Miggy, all the guys, Alpine Stars, GSI, GoPro, Wave Italy, Omologato, SimLab, and especially Bruno Carnero, BCM 21. He does driver coaching, and I would not have had this pace today without him.
Awesome stuff there from Michael Koholik, who in his second time of asking here in PCA took a win. That is just unbelievable. As DJ's caught up with the man who followed him home, Chris Pies.
Well, Chris, not exactly enough pace there to be able to close in on Michael, but what a battle between yourself and Leif Peterson that entire race.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Leaf and I know each other pretty well, and we raced on the same endurance team together, and so we know each other's habits pretty well. So it led to a lot of close, fun racing. I hope it was enjoyable to watch as much as it was behind the wheel.
It was fantastic to watch, and I mean, how much were you driving in the rearview mirror there, or was it just kind of knowing where to put the car defensive? What was your mentality going through that?
When I was behind Leaf, it was kind of just biding my time, sipping fuel where I could, hoping that I could maybe get him in the pit stop if I saved enough fuel, which thankfully it worked out. And then when he was behind me, it was kind of just, I knew that if I ran my pace and my driving line, it would be very difficult for him to get around me. So it was kind of all eyes forward after the pit stop, and thankfully I was able to eke it out.
Well, eke it out you did. We turn our eyes to next week. I believe we're headed to Knock Hill, a little bit of a different track there. How do you think that's going to go?
It'll be interesting. I have never turned a lap at Knock Hill, so I've got my work cut out for me next week to practice and get familiar with a very, very tricky circuit, but it'll be a lot of fun.
Well, we're looking forward to it, Chris. But as for tonight, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
As always, the podium team, you guys do a great job. Ryan Bauer, thank you for the wonderful production that you do. And I'm going to give the other thanks to my teammate, Leif Peterson, for keeping it clean and keeping it entertaining. So thanks, guys.
Well, thank you. That was Chris Pies, your second place driver here today.
That's going to take us to third with Leif Peterson, who followed very closely home. Rachel has caught up with the 913 driver.
Well, Leif, you started off second today, but third place, a podium finish overall. Racing seemed very hectic today on the track. It seemed incident-free, but busy.
Yeah, this is a tough track, but I love it so much. It's got a little bit of everything. It's just super slick. So, as you've seen all week, it's tough for cars to stay on. A lot of self-spins. So, Chris and I coach on Tuesdays, and we tell everybody just slow down, let your tires warm up, battle on the first lap, just keep it on the track, and we'll make places.
Obviously, keeping on the track's the important part. Just what was the track conditions like for you guys?
Well, I was a little disappointed. It was so cool when we got on because it was deceiving. As soon as we got closer to qualifying, it started getting hotter and hotter. And by race time, it was a completely different track.
And what was it like during the race? Actually, a question of actual importance, I think, in this one. Was tire degradation a problem in this race?
It's not as bad as it could be. I don't know all the mechanics, but I think we ended up with about 60%, 50-something% tires on the front left, front right, and the backs aren't that bad. But you really can't toss the car around, so you're not going to get as much tire deg as you would on some of the more abrasive tracks.
It's interesting to find out. Well, Knock Hill coming up next week. What are your thoughts?
I have not owned it. I don't own it, and so that'll be exciting. I love all the British tracks, as I've always said, and I'm sure I'll like that one too.
Well, I think this is going to be wild. I don't think anyone's driven it yet. But anybody like to give a shout out to or thank?
Yeah, I want to thank you guys, the PCA steering committee, as always, Doug Atkinson and crew, my fellow instructors, all the students that show up every week and listen to us ramble on, and my real life racing team, Racer Motors, and Billy Smith, my teammate, and of course my family and friends.
Most important to thank, of course. Well, thanks for joining us, Leif Peterson, coming on today in third.
Thank you, Rachel.
That'll close us out. And as you heard us mentioned, we'll see you next time when we go to Knock Hill. That'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, April 27th, live here on Podium Esports. That'll be for the Challenge and the Sport classes. A big thank you goes to the steering committee at PCA Sim Racing, and a huge thanks to our team tonight, DJ, Rachel, Ryan, Cameron, and Dougie. Also, none of this would be possible without those behind the scenes at Podium Esports, Ryan Bauer, Gary Sexton, and John Theodore. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing. I'm Joe Peak, and I'll see you on the track.